So listen, I got a lot of mixed feelings about this one, as it looks like Black Widow may have lost her Symbiote Sliver due to what Liz Allen and her symbiote Misery does here. Welcome back to Keepin' the Comic, and we're picking back up here on another Venom War tie-in with Venomous issue number 3. Now, from the last issue, we know that Flash Thompson had left Widow and Liz Allen, aka Misery, to fight off the Symbiotes over at Alchemax. Well, that fight continues, but Widow is realizing that all of this, at the end of the day, will not matter, because the more Symbiotes that they take out, the more people just keep on getting infected. So Widow, knowing that Misery can heal the symbiote infection because of her being half anti-venom and half carnage, she tells her that they need to find a way to heal them all at once. Otherwise, we're just going to continue on this game here of whack-a-mole. So Misery lets her know, if we can get them all in one place, it's possible that we can cure them all in a mass hit, which gives Widow an idea that brings them back up an elevator shaft here where they start to string up all of these healed symbiotes. Only thing is, they thought that these were all dead bodies that were here that they were dealing with. Turns out that one of them was a scientist at Alchemax and was very much alive. So Misery takes her on her back to bring her up the elevator shaft, while Widow is carrying a sack of dead bodies like she's Santa Claus out here. Man, that symbiote strength must be something else. So when they finally get to a clear floor, the plan that Widow had was to string up all of these dead bodies here on webs and then leave them there so that they could entice the other symbiotes from outside. And that plan worked like a charm in a sense. So Misery heads up to the roof, right, to complete the other part of this plan, while Widow looks to take on the symbiotes that are on the floor. But here is the thing. Part of the plan was that she would disconnect from her Symbiote Sliver so that it would draw the other symbiotes faster. So Sliver lets her know that we cannot protect you if we are not with you, Natasha. But Nat, being all cocky, but also telling the truth, she tells her, listen, thanks, but I've been protecting myself long before you were a drop of Venom goo, which is a reminder to us that her symbiote was spawned from Venom. So Widow charges through, pew, 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 in symbiotes as she heads over to the other side of the room. Then she starts calling for Sliver, but when she calls, she gets no answer, until when she finally does answer, we see Sliver has somehow been turned into a symbiote as well, which I did not think was possible. Like, how is a symbiote able to be turned into a symbiote? I assume that it has something to do with how the symbiote spawned from Venom in the first place, but even then I still can't wrap my brain around it. It honestly is one of my biggest gripes here with this particular issue. Now, meanwhile, when Misery gets to the top of the roof, she is met with some more symbiote. It looks like there were like a few security men that were up there, and then they all got turned as well, which then leads to these double shots of us seeing both Black Widow and Misery engaging in their individual fights. Now, Natasha is going one-on-one versus her symbiote, while Misery is fighting and healing the symbiotes on the rooftop. Now, Natasha ends up getting tangled up on the wall by Sliver's webbing. Natasha then remembers that Sliver had told her that the symbiotes are mindless, but for her sake, she hopes it is not true. Now, meanwhile, Liz has to make a tough choice here to try and stop this fight. She decides that she is going to remove the fire suppression foam out of the top of the roof here, and instead, she's going to replace it with the anti-venom symbiote that she has instead. So back with Widow, when Sliver had her pinned up against the wall, Natasha tries to plead with her. Widow tells her, I know that you're still in there. You would have killed me by now if you weren't. You can fight this. Remember who you are. So in that moment, Sliver stops and says her name, Natasha. Listen, I tried, guys. I couldn't pull that off, but you get the point. But unfortunately, Liz had started the sprinklers, which had the anti-venom symbiote in them, and that starts to spray all the symbiotes in the room, including Sliver. And we slowly start to see Sliver melt away as she says, we are sorry. And then Widow shouts, Sliver, no! hold on to me, but it was far too late. It's really honestly sad, but honestly, this didn't need to happen in my personal opinion. I just didn't like how this was written, guys. It's subjective, I know. So Widow, though, being a professional, she goes to help others who are in need. And honestly, she didn't really have time to dwell on it anyhow. So Liz then shows up a little bit later on to check on Widow and all the other injured and dead parties in the aftermath. She expressed her sympathy for Widow losing her symbiote. She later admits how this is ultimately all her fault because all this zombiote stuff was cooking up under Liz's nose without her even knowing what was going on, being that she is the CEO of Alchemix. So it really kind of is sort of her fault, right? Now, later on, though, we see Black Widow walking away from the mess. She says, "I'm sorry, Sliver. I wish things could have been different. Like every fallen comrade, you will be sorely missed." But as she walks away, we see one drip of the Sliver symbiote form again, which I guess is supposed to be our indication that Sliver is still alive. Listen, I guess I could believe that, but the way that they kind of left this cliffhanger here, they could probably not pay this off for months, years, you know what I mean? Because they've done things like that before. Now listen, I understand that this is ultimately a subjective view on this. I just didn't like the fact that I got used to Widow having the symbiote, and now the fact that she doesn't have it anymore, it kind of feels very empty the way that this was written. Let me know what your thoughts are here about this particular issue. Leave your comments down below. Like this video here to help the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. And as always, guys, thank you so much for kicking it with Keepin' It Comic. Bye.